In a world drowning in noise, confusion, and the hunger for meaning, there once lived a man who believed that order could be born from chaos, that kindness could reshape the soul of an empire. His name was Confucius, a teacher, a philosopher, a seeker of harmony amidst the ruins of human pride, born over 2.5 millennia ago. Yet his words still echo in the corridors of time, reminding us, as he once said, "It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop." Today, we journey into the heart of ancient China, into a world torn by war, greed, and the collapse of virtue, to meet the man who dared to dream of moral balance, a vision of a civilization built not on fear or power, but on benevolence, wisdom, and respect. If you seek knowledge not just to understand the world, but to understand yourself, then stay with us until the end of this voyage. And before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and join our journey through time and philosophy, because wisdom, like the stars, shines brighter when shared. The year was around 551 BCE, in the small state of Lu, in what is now Shandong Province, China. A child was born into a world fractured by war and moral decay, a time when kingdoms rose and fell like waves, when rulers sought power, not virtue. That child was named Kong-Qiu, later known to the world as Confucius. He was not born into nobility, but into a family that had once held honor and now lived in quiet poverty. His father died when he was only 3, and his mother, Yan Zhengzai, raised him alone. The boy was quiet, observant. He would often wander the hills of Lu, watching the wind sway the tall reeds and listening to the rhythm of life itself. Even then, he saw something, a pattern behind chaos, a harmony waiting to be restored. As he once said, "At 15, I set my heart upon learning." From a young age, Confucius studied ancient rites, poetry, and music, the old ways of the Zhou dynasty, which he believed contained the moral order that once held society together. But the world around him had forgotten such order. Corruption had replaced virtue. Rulers fought for dominance while the people starved in silence. In this landscape of decay, Confucius began to ask the question that would define his life. What makes a man truly good? Not wealth, not birth, not power, but character. The superior man, he said, is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. By the time he reached his 20s, Confucius worked as a record keeper, an ordinary position for an extraordinary mind. But while others counted grain and livestock, he counted virtues and flaws, measuring not what a man owned, but what a man was. He began teaching those who would listen: farmers, laborers, young scholars, anyone who hungered for meaning. In his humble home, beneath the dim glow of an oil lamp, he spoke of Ren, the virtue of humanity, the compassion that binds all hearts. To see what is right and not do it, he told them, is the want of courage. Here, in this small corner of a fractured empire, the seeds of a revolution were sown. Not a revolution of swords, but of souls. The Middle Kingdom was tearing itself apart. The great Zhou dynasty, once a symbol of harmony and justice, had become a ghost of its former self. Feudal lords battled endlessly for power. Greed ruled the court, deceit ruled the throne. And the people, they wandered, hungry and forgotten, beneath the shadow of their leaders' ambitions. But amidst this turmoil, one voice whispered a different vision. A vision of Li, ritual propriety, the art of living with respect and order. Confucius believed that even in times of chaos, one could live with dignity, guided by principle, not impulse. When we see men of a contrary character, he said, we should turn inward and examine ourselves. He traveled from city to city, speaking to rulers, officials, and farmers alike, urging them to embrace morality over might. He spoke of Ren, humaneness, the soul of ethics, of Yi, righteousness, the courage to do what is right, and of Ji, wisdom born from reflection. But the rulers of his age did not want reflection. They wanted control. They wanted loyalty without question. And so, the words of Confucius fell like rain on stone, beautiful but unheard. He served briefly in the court of Duke Ding of Lu, where he attempted to restore the old rights, but his reforms angered those who thrived on corruption. In whispers and shadows, they plotted against him, and soon, Confucius was forced to leave the only home he had known. Thus began his long exile, a journey that would last for 13 years across desolate lands, through kingdoms that mocked his ideals, through hunger, cold, and humiliation. And yet, he did not stop. "It does not matter how slowly you go," he had said, "as long as you do not stop." Confucius believed the world could be healed, not by force, but by moral example, by the virtue of one heart inspiring another, until the light of humanity outshone the darkness of greed. Confucius was no conqueror. He wielded no sword, commanded no army, yet his weapon was far sharper, the truth of human nature. Real knowledge, he said, is to know the extent of one's ignorance. Each kingdom he visited tested his faith. He was rejected, insulted, even starved, but he carried on not for power, but for purpose. He told his disciples, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." Among those disciples were Yan Hui, Zilu, and Zhengzi, faithful students who followed him through hardship. They recorded his teachings, the sparks of wisdom that would one day form the Analects, Lunyu, his immortal dialogue with time itself. He taught them not merely to memorize words, but to live them, to be Junzi, the noble person who acts with integrity, even when no one is watching. To govern, Confucius once said, means to correct. If you set an example by being correct, who would dare remain incorrect? But no kingdom offered him sanctuary. No emperor accepted his wisdom, and as years passed, his steps grew slower, his beard grayer. Still, his spirit did not fade. In a lonely inn, somewhere between the kingdoms of Wei and Song, Confucius sat beneath a flickering lantern. He wrote down his thoughts, not for fame, but for the generations to come. He looked at the stars and whispered to his disciples, "He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in danger." In that moment, the philosopher became something greater, a mirror for humanity. A voice reminding us that wisdom is not found in conquest, but in the quiet courage to be good in a corrupt world. After 13 long years of wandering, rejected, misunderstood, forgotten, Confucius finally returned to Lu, his homeland. The world had not changed much. The wars still raged, the rulers still schemed, but he had changed. He had become a river, silent on the surface, but deep with understanding beneath. In his final years, Confucius withdrew from the courts of politics and turned inward, to the realm of reflection and teaching. He gathered his disciples beneath the shade of apricot trees, and there, he spoke not of power, but of virtue, harmony, and the art of being human. The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. He taught them about filial piety, Xiao, the sacred bond between parent and child, teacher and student, ruler and people. He urged them to study not for status, but for self-cultivation, the inner work that makes one worthy of peace. When we see men of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inward and examine ourselves. As years passed, he grew quiet, often seen walking alone by the riverbanks, his hands clasped behind him, his eyes searching not the horizon, but something beyond it. He knew his time was near. One day, upon hearing that his beloved disciple Yan Hui had died, Confucius fell into silence for days. He murmured, "Heaven has destroyed me. Heaven has destroyed me." And yet, even in grief he found wisdom. Life and death, he said, are a matter of destiny. Wealth and honor depend on heaven. He spent his remaining days editing the spring and autumn annals, Chunqiu, a chronicle of his homeland's history, and a mirror reflecting his moral philosophy. To him, history was not just a record of kings, but a testimony of choices, the moments when men rose to virtue or fell to corruption. In the quiet of his final morning, Confucius whispered to his disciples, "The will to learn and the love of goodness, these are the roots of true nobility." And then, gently, he was gone. He left behind no empire, no army, no gold, only words, and through them, the soul of a civilization. More than 2,000 years have passed. Empires have risen and fallen. Languages have changed. Beliefs have evolved. But the voice of Confucius still echoes. His teachings became the foundation of Chinese civilization, the heart of East Asian philosophy, the compass of moral education in Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. His vision of Ren, Li, and Yi shaped governments, schools, and hearts for over 20 centuries. Even today, when the world feels divided, his words remind us that true harmony is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of understanding. He once said, "Do not impose on others what you do not wish for yourself." Those words, born in ancient Lu, became a universal moral principle, a seed that grew into what we now call the Golden Rule. His Analects, the collected dialogues between master and disciple, have inspired emperors, scholars, and ordinary people seeking meaning. To see what is right and not do it, he warned, is the want of courage. Confucius never saw his dream fulfilled in his lifetime, but perhaps that was his greatest teaching, that wisdom is not about victory, but endurance. His philosophy crossed centuries, bridging hearts and nations, guiding millions toward compassion, humility, and balance. And so, when we study his life, we are not just looking into history, we are looking into ourselves. For every time we choose kindness over cruelty, understanding over pride, and reflection over judgment, we keep his spirit alive. He who learns without thinking is lost. He who thinks without learning is in danger. The words of a teacher, the wisdom of an age, the echo of eternity. If this story moved you, if it made you reflect on your own path, then let the wisdom continue. Like this video, share it with a soul who seeks light, and subscribe to English Stories Voyage, where words become bridges and stories become journeys. By 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. Confucius.